Thank you. There's actually one character in this story that I can't play myself that I'm going to need you all to do for me. Can you do that?
Yeah.
So I need you to be the ocean. It's a gentle ocean on a perfectly beautiful San Diego beach day. And it sounds like this. Shh. And that's going to be your cue, yes? If I'm not doing this, you don't have to be the ocean. So it was a beautiful day on the flat, of one of those perfectly flat stretches of beach. Sun was shining. It was so beautiful that Seal washed herself up onto the beach, and she did the seal thing to get herself up onto a little bit drier and warmer sand, and she stretched her belly out and basked in the sun. Well, the day was so beautiful that Coyote loped down from the hillside and sat herself right down next to Seal to also bask in that beautiful sun and the ocean breeze. Well, it was such a beautiful day that Squirrel popped her head up from those sand dunes, and she came out and sat right next to Seal on the other side of Coyote, obviously, to also sun herself on this beautiful day on the ocean. And it was such a beautiful day. It actually didn't need to be a beautiful day because Hummingbird was sort of always around, of course, as hummingbirds are. So Hummingbird doesn't like to sit still, so she's flying around a little bit. Well, Coyote, being the most cunning of them, said, "Friends, I've had a big thought." And she said this as if it had a capital B and a capital T, a big thought. And Coyote was always having big thoughts, and usually her thoughts were pretty exciting. So Seal and Squirrel and Hummingbird said, "What is your big thought for today?" And Coyote said, "I want to leave a legacy." And they said, "Oh yeah, a legacy, that sounds really good. What does that mean?" And Coyote said, "My friends, we are going to build a castle." And Squirrel said, "That sounds heavy." And Coyote said, No, not like a human castle, a sand castle. And they all said, "Ooh," everyone say, "Ooh." And they agreed that Squirrel would be in charge of the royal garden of this castle. And they agreed that Seal would be in charge of the fortress walls around the castle. And they agreed that Coyote would be in charge of all the detailed work of the castle itself. And they all agreed that Hummingbird was really just too small to do much of anything, except for look pretty. Which she did very well, by the way. So they got to work. Squirrel skittered along the beach, and she decided to put the royal garden closest to the water where it made the most sense. So she ran down this way and shoved her cheeks full with rocks and pretty shells, and she used her grabby hands to grab some kelp and drag it along to pile all the seaweed up, and she made a beautiful royal garden of seaweed and driftwood and rocks and shells that shimmered in the sun. And Seal used her big size to along the sand and kind of scoot the sand up into big piles that would protect Coyote's castle from intruders, whatever we protect castles from. And Coyote, she used her snout and her paws to dig up the sand and kind of swoosh it together and shape it up, and she knew, and she told everybody, that sand, if it's dry, can only make one shape, like this, so it's not very castly. So she knew that she had to use that good wet sand from on the beach to make sure that you could actually make towers out of it. She had a moat and towers and turrets and windows, and she used her claw to scrape out the details of all of the windows, and inside some of those windows you could see the people who lived inside the castle. And Hummingbird this whole time would try to swoop down and help. So when Squirrel was building the royal garden, Hummingbird came, tink, woo! And she was dropping a single grain of sand at a time down onto that royal garden. And Squirrel said, "Hummingbird, no, we all agreed that you are too small to help. You're just distracting me." So Hummingbird went to where Seal was making up the fortress walls, and Hummingbird flew down, woo, tink, woo. And Seal said, "Hummingbird, you're just distracting me. I'm trying to make good piles here." So Hummingbird went to where Coyote was doing this beautiful shaping with her tiny nails. And Hummingbird came down, woo, tink, woo. And Coyote said, "This is very delicate. I am being an engineer right now, and you cannot add any extra weight to this particular turret. Hummingbird, go away." So Hummingbird took herself even further up away from the water to where the sand was dry, and she started to, woo, tink, woo, woo, tink, woo. Well, as the day progressed, those waves started to come in. Well, the friends, they all watched those waves come in and out, and it was beautiful. And they looked at this beautiful garden and these fortress walls and this castle they had built, and it was exquisite. And as those waves came closer and closer, suddenly one wave came close enough to take away one of those pieces of kelp that Squirrel had so carefully gathered. And the next wave came and drew away that beautiful driftwood. And the next wave came and it was so strong that it carried away those rocks, until finally that royal garden was just flat sand. And Squirrel cried, of course. And they all said, "Oh, Squirrel, you just have to try again, go get some more rocks and get some more seaweed, it's fine, look at there's all this stuff on the beach." And Squirrel said, "No, I love that one so much. I'm too sad to build another garden." And she went away and she made herself a little croissant up on the beach and cried into her tail. Well, those waves, they kept coming. And they came closer and closer. And soon, one of those waves, they came close enough to start carrying away some of that sand that Seal had so carefully scooped up. And soon those waves carried away all of the fortress walls and left just a flat expanse of sand where the walls had once been. Well, Coyote said, "Seal, come on, you better just make another wall. We have to protect all the things. What if there are intruders to our sandcastle?" And Seal said, "Oh, God, do you realize that I just moved like 5 tons of sand? I'm too tired to build another fortress wall." So Seal built her way over to next to Squirrel, and she laid down sideways to bask her belly in the sun. Well, those waves, they kept coming as waves do. And they came closer and closer. And they filled in that moat that Coyote had so carefully built in front of her castle. And then the next wave came and it carried away a whole tower of the castle. And the next wave came and it took away the whole castle with all of its little sand people and everything. Well, Coyote said, "Ugh, what a waste. I am too smart to try to build another castle if it's just going to get washed away." So Coyote loped her way over to sit next to Seal and Squirrel. And as they sat there, they heard, and finally they said, "Hummingbird, what are you doing? We've all given up." And Hummingbird said, "Well, Squirrel is too sad, Seal is too tired, and Coyote is too smart to keep building a castle, but I'm just over here doing what I can." And right there was a whole flat expanse of wet sand, and then up where the sand just starts to get dry, it's a tiny little pile of grains of sand, not even as tall as Hummingbird herself. You know, it wasn't much, but it was hers.